Ever whistled, hollered, or even begged your dog to come, only to be blatantly ignored? Ah, the struggle of call and ignore. It's a tale as old as time, or at least as old as domesticated canines. It's a sunny day at the park, and Fido is off, tail wagging, nose to the ground, more interested in the squirrels than your calls. Then there's Spot, who's found a pack of other dogs to play with, turning a deaf ear to your pleas. You've tried all the tricks in the book. Different call techniques, the promise of treats, even their favorite squeaky toy. But alas, it's as if you've suddenly turned invisible, or maybe just inaudible. And let's not forget about the times when your pooch gets distracted by a bird, and your calls seem to vanish into thin air. If this sounds familiar, you're not alone, and importantly, there are solutions. It's time to dive into the world of recall training, a critical skill for every dog to learn, and for every dog owner to teach. Recall training is the process of teaching your dog to come to you when called, aspect of dog training, not just because it's convenient when you're in the park and it's time to go home, but for the safety and well-being of your canine companion. Imagine being able to call your dog away from a busy road or from an aggressive dog. That's the power of recall training. At its core, recall training is about building a strong bond between you and your dog, and strengthening this bond is all about positive reinforcement. Positive reinforcement is a method of training that rewards good behavior instead of punishing bad behavior. When your dog does something right, like coming when called, they're rewarded. This can be with a treat, a toy, or simply a lot of fuss and praise. You might be wondering, how do I start? Begin in a controlled environment, like your living room. Call your dog's name, and when they come to you, reward them with a treat and lots of praise. Practice this regularly, gradually increasing the distance between you and your dog and introducing distractions. It's important to remember that dogs are not robots. They have their own personalities and moods. Some days they might pick up the training quickly, other days it might be more of a struggle. That's perfectly normal. When your dog starts getting the hang of it indoors, you can take the training outside. Start in a quiet, enclosed area before moving on to more distracting environments. Remember, always use a long leash for safety in unenclosed areas until you're confident in your dog's recall. One last thing to keep in mind is to never scold your dog if they don't come when called. This will only make them associate the command with negative consequences. Instead, be patient, be consistent, and always end training sessions on a positive note. Remember, patience and consistency are key in any form of dog training. Now, let's hear from those who've been in your shoes and have successfully trained their dogs to come when called. Imagine this: a once unruly golden retriever named Charlie, who'd sprint after squirrels and ignore his owner's pleas. But after weeks of training, he now comes bounding back with a simple call. His owner attributes this success to the use of positive reinforcement, coupled with a special whistle that Charlie now associates with treats and fun times. Then there's the story of Daisy, a playful Labrador who loved frolicking with other dogs so much that she'd completely disregard her owner's calls. The game changer? A technique called recall games, where the owner would hide and call Daisy. The thrill of the game and the reward at the end made coming back irresistible for Daisy. And who could forget the tale of Max, a stubborn bulldog who seemed to have selective hearing? Max's owner found success in consistency, using the same command and tone each time. It took time, but Max eventually began associating the command with positive outcomes. These stories underscore that every dog and situation is different. What works for one may not work for another, but common threads are patience, consistency, and positive reinforcement. It's about making coming when called a rewarding experience for your furry friend. As these stories show, with the right techniques and a lot of patience, it's completely possible to train your dog to come when called. To recap, recall training is a vital part of being a responsible dog owner. We've explored the struggle of call and ignore, delved into the art of recall training, and celebrated some success stories. Techniques such as positive reinforcement can be game changers, while patience and consistency are key. Remember, every dog is unique, so don't be disheartened if progress is slow. With patience, consistency, and the right techniques, your dog can also learn to come when called. Good luck and happy training.